All right, you're good to go.
All right. There we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome to our regular meeting, August 11th, 2021, the Washington County Board of Elections. I notice we have some public present. This is our time for public comment. Did anyone want to say anything? Unless you have a specific business item that we can get to, but just public comment.
I've got a business. I filed paperwork for Durham Township trustee.
Yeah, we'll be getting to your petition.
Oh, okay.
And we'll take it out of order, because that's probably 7th on the list or something.
Oh, okay.
We understand
Thank you.
that, and I think Mr. Sellers is here for the same reason, and so forth. Okay. Would it be okay to take those out of order so we can, again, you're welcome to stay. We're not trying to kick you out, but you may have other things to do. So you had a petition?
Yeah, and I was kind of late filing, but I got all my signatures and everything, and I come up and I put the date on one page wrong. And
This is he came in on August 3rd, and this was the date he had here. And then that was after the signatures.
And I went and got signatures again, but trying to catch all my neighbors and people at home to get that many 30-some signatures, 34 I think it was. Just in one day I couldn't, refile again. And so I was just addressing the board, hope that you would understand that one page I put the address wrong
You
on.
found it valid.
And you would accept it.
Of the dates, yeah.
When you said the date.
The deadline to turn it in was August 4th, so he turned in the 4th.
Yeah, so I turned it in on the 3rd, I think, and so I only had that next day to get all the signatures and it was just that short window of time I couldn't do it,
So is this a substantial compliance?
Well, on the petition, it says it has to be filled in and dated and signed before the signatures are collected.
Right,
So,
that's the problem,
right,
and that's a fairly
right. that's-
weighty problem, I'm afraid.
And I give you all, you have a copy of the petition chapter from the election officials handbook. So reference for any of this kind of.
What we were sort of mumbling is that there's some things that are mistakes that we call it substantial compliance. But there are certain issues, usually beginning in those forward paragraphs, that it's sort of like, well, you're supposed to have it filled out accurately.
Correct.
And we can't give you a pass. And I think what Ms. Amos is telling us is that that putting that date wrong or signing it, saying you signed it then, you haven't told the voter, you haven't filled that part in so that when a person, again, probably 99% of these people on a first name basis, but it doesn't tell them, you haven't told us that you told them what you're doing.
I planned on coming up on that Monday, and I signed that first sheet, and then I got tied up and didn't make it on Monday, so that's when I made it Tuesday morning.
Right.
And that's part of the problem, I'm saying, that that date was wrong,
Right, it's the declaration part, I think, isn't it, Charlie, that's there?
That's up here.
Up here.
Yep.
And the date on, I think, is August 2nd.
Second.
But the signatures begin in July, and so that date should be before
Did you have it,
technically before the
I know you
start.
dated it on the 2nd, but did you have it filled in any before
Correct.
that date?
Yeah,
You did have it filled in before that date, is what you're saying.
Correct. So you're supposed to fill that in before you ever get any signatures.
Right.
That's my fault, I mean.
The 24th, 27th is when the dates are on the petition.
Because the way it reads, you know, on August 2nd, I filled it out. So I just handed out a petition to folks, maybe telling them what.
Basically like one petition.
Yeah.
Every signature is before that date.
Yeah,
Oh,
right, right. I mean, but for that, he has sufficient signatures. Staff
Right.
went through and found 28, of the 34 presented, 28 were good, and he needed 25. But the problem is that date, I think, is fatal. It's just one of those areas we can't fix, which doesn't seem fair, but it is what it is. And I think we've been fairly consistent with that. Or we've been very consistent actually with that entire section
Right.
when that's not done. We've determined that the petitions weren't, we'd have to reject.
Unfortunately.
Well, I thank you for your time.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, because we would love to, we want more people running than less, if you know what I mean. We want our citizens doing it.
Yeah.
And so please don't take this as a, you know, when the opportunity comes up, run again.
Yeah. That'll be a little whiter on the paper.
Well,
A lot of to do.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
You need a motion on that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we do not accept the petition for
His name was Clayton Allman.
Nate Nolan, not being filled out correctly in terms of the date he started the petition.
second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Mr. Sellers.
Yes, thank you. I promised not to make a habit of this. I know I was here earlier in the year, last go around.
I was thinking the same thing, Abe.
Leave me alone. As you know, there's a major renovation of a shopping center on Washington Boulevard in Belton going on. Several restaurants are looking to locate there, one of which is Wings, etc. Probably know them from the Caldwell exit and out there by the IHOP in Marietta. One's going up now Grand Central. National chain, but the local franchise is owned by the Huck family. Mr. Huck was a longtime football coach. That's Taryn's dad. Two of his sons, Chad Huck and Kyle Huck, are the proprietors. They own those franchises. This is their younger brother, Taryn Huck, graduate of Fort Fry, and he's a district manager for them. And Taryn circulated all but, I believe it was one of the petitions. It's a petition to serve a particular location in Belfry, the shopping center I mentioned.
There's a posting note on the front.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna address that one.
I think that was one of
I came ready.
It's on the back here.
Yeah, if you want me to cut to that chase, I can cut to that chase. So, yeah.
We got that, you might as well.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right. It's like going to the Supreme Court, you get out about 30 seconds of what you want to say and they blow you up with something else.
Well, they told you that your fifth argument is really the issue.
That's what they were talking about. All right.
Not the first three.
Well, another reason Taryn is here, so if you notice on the bottom of that particular page, Taryn was the circulator. We recognize it's got similar handwriting. I talked to Taryn about that. He's here to answer any questions. He did not knowingly see anybody sign somebody else's name including this particular person. And I think Revised Code 3501.38F says unless the circulator knowingly participated in such a fraud, you can't invalidate the entire page. It's invalidation of that particular signature, which has been invalidated, and we're not challenging that. I do have other things that I want to
Yeah,
address.
well, that's probably perhaps the most,
Sure.
well, it's a serious item because, I mean, you look at it, I mean, when you start looking at the address, I mean, it's not similar. I mean, it's about as close to a repetition as possible. And then when you look at the last name, it looks like it's the same human being, the same weight, in other words, pressure, same pen probably, but again, pen pressure, lift, where they put it back down. And unfortunately in my life, I've represented a lot of forgers and so forth. So I have heard countless experts testify. I've hired experts and so forth about what they look for. And they don't always look for just, oh, gee, that L is like this. They look at the pressure and any one element of it or where it's lifted or put back down, because the best of forgers will make mistakes. And the real good ones actually turn them upside down and do it upside down when they're forging a signature and so forth. Again, trivia, you don't need to worry about.
But we don't dispute that. She's not a good forger.
Yeah.
Don't dispute
So how could this human being, were you preoccupied, do you think? And she like put down 2 signatures and you didn't catch
Yes.
that you went from like 2, 3 signatures to, to 4 or 5?
Yeah, I visited, probably like 200 houses in the span of 2 days, and I don't particularly remember this situation. I can't remember being by the house, and I can't particularly remember, what happened there, but there's times when, it's like a husband and a wife, and they're like, they both have the clipboard and they're talking to me, and it's totally possible she just, wrote both their names or something, and I missed it. I definitely did not knowingly, allow that to happen or tell it it was okay, anything like that.
How many signatures did you get? Rough estimate, how many total signatures?
Total, you said you got like,
I got one of the pages and I submitted a page with 1 signature, so that would be all but 24. And there were 223 signatures.
So roughly 200 signatures.
Yes, correct.
And this is the one where we're thinking something happened. So 1 out of, say, 200.
200.
So, so it wasn't like it was a pervasive thing you were doing.
Right.
There's no chance that you went somewhere and just sat it down and left. We've had that happen where a company put it by the cash register and just had a sign that said, please sign. There might not be anybody, and they were getting signatures from Florida and Idaho. People were traveling through getting gas and just whipped their signature on a petition.
Did you personally go to every door?
yeah, I was definitely,
That's what I'm asking, yeah.
I was personally at every door, yes.
And that's the only one like that you flagged, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, which okay, all right, well, that explains that. Were there other issues that came up?
The issue that we addressed last time, even though I was adamant with Taryn, don't let people print. They don't listen, no matter what you tell them. You have to police it every time. I believe there were about 12 printed signatures approximately.
About 13 were.
13.
That would have been the 14.
There were 13 because we went back, we got 10 of them to sign affidavits like we obtained last time. 2 we couldn't catch, 1 lady was at work, 1 door never answered. The 3rd was home, but I determined, I don't think she's a voter. So I could have done this and you would have disqualified it anyway. there were 13. Here are 10 affidavits.
Okay,
2 we couldn't catch, and 1 was
Yeah, 'cause
not
there
worth your
were,
time.
you needed 166 signatures and there were 160 valid, but we failed.
right.
So this would be.
And these would have put the 166.
Yeah, this would put them over the 166.
I've got 2 affidavits where people just failed to date the line, but I don't need to get to that if those would be accepted and validated.
Did we already match these names to the
We have to-
printed
We
one?
could look it up,
We have to
yeah.
run those, yeah.
So,
So you want to have Emily,
we can have it later, we can have Melissa go.
Melissa as well?
These 10,
If you wanna grab the petition later. Take it with you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And so that would cover it. So while we're doing that,
Yeah, that would.
we'll go
Put
ahead
us
and
over
do
the threshold.
Yeah,
Yep.
all right,
66, yes.
okay. Well, I guess, does anybody think there's reason to suspect any more skullduggery than just maybe an over-exuberant spouse signing for the,
I think what he said, what happened.
well, it looked like a good signature. And
I
again,
bet she signs these checks too.
I was gonna say, probably couldn't get a
But I know how that
check
goes, unfortunately.
Don't, yeah.
But you know, I have a friend that his wife always picked up a check and signed it. And he signed it one day, went to the bank, they said, that's not your signature. So, yeah, that happens.
Yeah, I signed 5.5 checks in 47 years of marriage. And I remember the half check. Because my wife filled out most of it, I had to put the number in it. So trust me, I understand.
no, to your question, I don't think there's any further reason
Right,
for it.
anyone else think there's any problem? Okay, so we don't even need to bring that up, we'll just move beyond that. Because we'll be approving if there's enough signatures, so, okay. Shall we go?
Go to minutes or bills?
Minutes, I think we could do the minutes while we're looking at the signature.
I know, John Eel's last name is misspelled. It's
Which was it on the front and the
on the
back?
front,
Yeah,
on the first page, and the third paragraph, first paragraph, third paragraph, the EE.
Double
Who's that?
John Eel's. And then the first paragraph too, Mandy.
And up here.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it.
On the back, the second paragraph should read, there's a township trustee petition whose signers. Anything else?
The
the only thing on the third paragraph, the big one there at the end. We ought to either put a comma after the word before or something so that it reads both before, during testing, and during the vote. So right after the word before, throw in a comma.
Oh, down here.
There you go. Kind of three different sections. So.
Yeah. If you want, I can go fix those real quick. and we
Sure.
can-
Well, why don't we go ahead and say, can we get a motion to approve subject to the corrections?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And,
Did you want to go ahead and do anything on the,
well, the bills, I think there are 4 of them.
yeah.
God bless no ink.
And that was, I checked, that's the same we paid last year.
Oh,
Who's that?
so
For
that's,
no ink, that
No ink.
annual maintenance fee of 7,500 stayed the same as last year.
All right, I'll make a motion to pay the bills as presented.
any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, got those out of the way.
Excuse me. Are you going past public comment?
Yeah, I'm asked it actually at the very beginning.
I was waiting for you to finish with him. I have a couple comments.
Oh, no, and when I told him I'd take it up and I said, was there other public comment?
I never
I'm
heard
sorry.
you say
No,
that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll happily do public comment.
Okay. I was just wondering. So are we ready?
Yep,
Okay, so last week I asked you about, last month, sorry, about the funds from the Center for Technology and Civic Life. Right? You guys remember that? And their supporters. Do you have firm confirmation that none of the money was filtered to Washington County?
I don't think we have any kind of proof of that. I mean, we never signed up to receive any of it.
Yeah, because you told me
no,
that
I just
HAVA
signed up if you wanted to look at it.
and the CARES Act
Yeah, we
is
had
where
that.
where you get it from. And when in my research, that some of that funding is filtered through there.
I guess, I mean, we were not aware that any,
Yeah, that's what I was concerned about, that you weren't aware of that. And also, how about the Center for Election Innovation and Research?
the only money we took was a HAVA grant and a CARES
state.
grant that was from the Secretary of State's office.
Which they took that money from the other entities they filtered through there to give it to you.
So,
I
I
just wondered how this is working through our state, so that's why I did the research, and I just wondered if you guys realized that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I was concerned, that was federal money.
Yeah, right, and which is understandable, because but I just wondered how far down the line that everybody knows where that money's coming from. Okay. I have several questions. Who does the adjudication for all the ballots? Is that,
No board members do that.
okay, so you all go and check every ballot and,
Well, not every ballot. If it scans through the machine, fine, they don't check. There's no reason to adjudicate the ballot.
okay.
We adjudicate
What do you do?
those that are, that the machine detects an issue or the staff does.
Which those are mostly well, not mostly, those would be all absentee.
Oh, so you do all absentee?
They don't look at every absentee ballot, just the ones that the machine, like you said, detects a
Yeah,
problem.
or the staff does.
Right.
Because there are times where the ballot comes and it's crumpled up, it's been cut, it's been torn,
It might have got rained on.
or
It came through
a lot of things can happen through the mail.
Yeah. Or somebody even carrying it in if they got stuck in a rainstorm.
And then if it's adjudicated and we make a public record if we're not gonna be able to, run it or vote it. And, or if it's something that we can correct, we likewise make a record and we then make a new ballot. And that's made by an R and a D in making that new ballot. And we keep the original ballot and we give it a number. And we use the letters OB for original ballot, and we give it a number like 1 or 103. And then when we do the remade ballot, it's called RB, the same number, 103 or whatever.
Yeah.
That way, if there was ever an issue, we could go back and match the two to show, for instance, because where this comes up, and I may have explained, where you get the extraneous mark,
Yeah, we talked about that.
that sort of thing, or the voter just crosses it out and
This is
says,
kind
fix
of a
it
real
for me.
submission, and here they were just.
So you contact them in order to?
No, we wouldn't contact them unless there's some reason, otherwise.
No, that's what I'm saying. If there's a reason, like it got chewed up and it went through a vote, you would call them and so you don't contact
We
them.
just fix it. There would be no reason to call them and,
I'm sorry, I
discuss with
misunderstood. I thought you just said that
No.
you contact.
it would be rare that we'd ever get in touch with, but we do where we have issues on an envelope and so forth. We have that, what would you call
There's
it,
a letter
correction
that they-
period?
Yeah, cure union.
Cure period.
Once those ballots go through the machine or don't go through the machine, we don't know whose ballot they belong to anyway.
Right.
So there's no way to contact them anyway.
Okay.
We're very careful about how we take ballots out of envelopes. Because if you decided to do an absentee ballot, we would want to assure you that we don't open your ballot and pass it around the office and go,
To look
look
at
how
how
they voted.
Right.
Boy, I'll bet you, so-and-so would like to know they voted for the opponent. We would never do that. We keep these envelopes upside down. They're sliced open by a slicer. We pull them apart so that they're can't be matched up. So we can assure voters, we're not looking to see how you voted.
Right. I heard this morning you said that someone's inspecting your machines.
Yeah, we have preventive maintenance done each year
Okay.
to make sure the machines work properly.
Are they ever have these machines specifically been inspected for modems?
No,
Why not?
Why would they be?
Because they found them all over the United States.
I
and some
so
other
far haven't
places.
heard of one case substantiated where they were found. So
I've
if you
been
could
hearing
bring-
several in the news.
I have
Okay,
heard
you know what, I'll make that list and
several
get that to you.
comments, but I have yet to have.
Yeah, I'll get that to you then. I didn't think I had to bring it, but I will.
thanks. There's a fixed price, so.
Okay, can citizens inspect the financials of this board?
I'd have to talk with the auditor. We don't have much in the way of financials.
So the auditor is not here, you mean in accordance?
Yeah,
The
Okay,
county auditor.
okay,
they're the ones that sort of have care, custody, and control of all of that.
Right.
We handle very little money.
yeah, okay, which is understandable, yeah. Because I wasn't sure about that, I was wondering why that,
Yeah, the only money we receive in really is people that are filing these petitions.
yeah, well, when it's explained on the state website, it's not very clear as to who deals with the money.
No.
Yeah, it's not very clear.
Do you have, there's a thing on the Secretary of State's website that's called the annual expense of the board that we have to fill in each year. Every county does. Those are available.
That's what I was
The
trying to
Secretary of
find,
State's website.
and it just seemed it was hard to find it. Maybe because I was getting overloaded, because I was talking to Dave Ward, Dave Ward. He's in La Rosa's office. He's the director of constituent affairs. And I've been communicating with him quite a bit here in the last month. And he keeps sending me all this stuff to read, but it's like, it's kind of hard to get the questions answered. There's no straight question answered. It's always, oh, just read this and you'll find your answer. It's kind of a runaround. So,
As I say, we can, when the meeting's over, we can show you where it's at on there,
okay,
on
that'd
the
be great.
website.
Okay, okay, and then, and I just, let's see. Okay, when it says, when you apply for grants, like the HAVA grant and the CARES Act grants, on there, it says, you have to have required matching funds for some things, do you? What?
Not for any of the ones that we've gotten so far,
No.
we haven't.
Oh, you haven't had matching funds for
No,
those?
not for any of ours.
I wonder why, I just wondered, because on those, it said I guess some, just some.
I'm not sure about any other counties, if
Yeah, that's a
they
good
had to do
question, that's
anything like that or
interesting.
not, but I know we.
Yeah, because it has it on the form itself, and from 2018, the form changed in 2020, it got very elaborate about how you apply for any grant money, and it was crazy.
Yeah, the only thing we have to fill out was just an agreement with the Secretary of State's office.
Oh, so the Secretary
We
of
didn't have to
State's office
apply, really.
applies for you,
Yeah, I don't know.
because you
how
guys
it
just get the
works.
funding.
Right, you just sign an agreement with the Secretary of State and then
Okay, see, that clears up a lot too, because I was like, why would you guys have to do all that work? I was like, oh my gosh, you don't get paid enough for that. And, do you use any of the funding for cybersecurity inspection? Is that what that, is that
In
thing?
2019, we got grant money that was specifically for cybersecurity directives that the Secretary of State was doing.
Okay, so, so I asked the last time about, so we, as a people of Washington County, can we choose how we want to vote? If we want to go paper, pen,
Yes,
okay, definite for sure, right?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah, we have the regular full-size ballots available and you can do the touchscreen, whichever you choose.
okay. So if I walk in and I want that hand ballot,
Ballot,
okay, but what if we want as a county to only do hand ballots and hand count?
that you'll have to take up with the legislature and the Secretary of State.
Okay, because Dave Ward told me I had to take it up with you,
We're gonna,
because each
First off,
county makes their own determinations.
well, yeah, I guess
With
each
equipment.
county could, but of course, we've made up our mind to use the equipment.
Good to have both available.
All right, but we have the
Okay, see, I
back.
didn't know both was
They're
available.
always
Is that,
available.
is that posted when we walk into the precinct to vote? Is it here when you walk in?
Yeah, I mean, we don't put up a sign that's.
Why not?
Just never have.
We,
I would have voted that way every time. I would never have touched those machines. And now that I know this, I'm sure a lot of people would never do that.
so you just, whenever you check in, you just want to ask them.
Right, I think that needs to be, I think voters need to be given that choice if we have that choice. But obviously, I didn't know that, and I know a lot of people.
I mean, we
do not know.
prefer that people would use the touchscreen because that's cheaper. The ballot stock is cheaper for that, which is why, one of the reasons we purchased that equipment. And it's easier for us to store.
Oh,
because
yeah,
it's smaller.
I understand all of that, but in lieu of,
Yeah.
you know, of everything that's happened in our nation, you know, I'm not the only one sitting in board of election offices. There's a lot of people sitting across the United States asking the same questions.
Yeah.
And we're, as a nation, we are really pretty much in the majority wanting to go to paper pen and a hand count because of the fraudulence of the machines. And one thing I will tell you that Dave Ward and I had this discussion and he talked and talked and talked for an hour and I let him talk and he told me exactly what Mr. Sykes said to me last week, except a little bit more extensively. And I listened to him and I was like, wow, that's exactly what I heard before. So I listened and then I shared something with him and he was like, oh, I have a CPAP machine. Anybody got a CPAP machine? Anybody have one? Do you have one, Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Yeah, I have the latest and greatest one. Do you have one in the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years?
Yes.
Yeah, so if something's wrong with it and you have to change your pressure on it, you know that can be done remotely, right? Have you ever had yours changed? I've
So
had
change it for what?
the pressure, your air pressure has to be changed on it sometimes. If I gain 10 pounds, I have to have mine changed. And my doctor writes a prescription. It goes to the tech here on Colgate and it's sent to my machine at my home. And the miraculous thing I found 2 years ago was that I was in Washington DC when I got a new machine. And I set it up and I'm thinking, oh, they're gonna tell me where to go to my technician. And because I always before, 2 years ago, I always had to bring it down here and get it, manually done. Well, I'm sitting there and the girl goes, I call her and said, okay, I got my machine and everything. She goes, you got it set up? I said, yeah, I got it ready packed up to go to wherever you're gonna tell me to go. She goes, oh no, right there. She goes, plug it in. I'm gonna change it right there. I'm sitting in Arlington, Virginia, and she changes it from sitting here. That's remote. That's what they're finding in voter fraud across the country. And people really don't want to listen to it, don't want to talk about it. But I can't cover my eyes to that because it leads to a lot of connections of a lot of things. And if we can't vote and have a secure election in our country, then our country's doomed. You know, it's just doomed. And I just pray every day for our country in so many ways because we have so many. This is connected to the school issues. This is connected to world issues. It's all connected. And it starts with everybody listening and understanding because we are one of the few countries in the world that uses technology to vote, right? Do you guys realize that? Very few countries use technology to vote. It's all paper, pen. They put it in a box, they count it. And I know it takes time, but here's my argument to that. And people are like, everybody wants to know. No, I want to know the truth. I'm not in a hurry we are in such a fast society, but there's many people across the nation. We don't have to have it that fast because number one, when we elect an official in November, they don't take office until after the new year usually. We have plenty of time to count. So there should not be any hurry. So I'm here to start our little grassroots change. And that's why I'm asking you all these questions. And I have a big concern for our country. Seriously. So, and the other thing I'm worried about with you guys telling me that I would have had a paper ballot, that not being shown, that's just not right. And the other thing I'm concerned about, because we talked about, one of you guys said something last time, and it triggered me to write a note about, there needs to be signs to remind people, and I know I called, and I can't remember who I talked to just yesterday. There on the ballot, it shows people how to vote and how to mark things, okay? But you gotta remember, even a lot of people who are voting only have a 4th grade reading level. They're not even really reading that. They need that to be posted as they go in to vote, it needs to be posted on walls and pointed out to and have someone say, I'm a special ed teacher. I've taught for 35 years. And I always use my special ed skills when I'm working with people, no matter what age, because I know some people need to see and hear how to do something. And just by saying, here's a ballot vote, good luck, I hope you've done your homework. Well, yeah, you can't tell them how to vote, but you can tell them how to fill out the form so that there's no discrepancies. And if there's discrepancies, like Mr. Sipes was talking about last time, he was like, oh, there's these marks and da-da-da. It's like, but that shouldn't be there because someone should be standing at the door and saying, please remember, if you want your vote to count, you must stay within the circle.
And they can go out of the line a little bit. The problem would be if they went into another oval.
Circle.
If they got so large.
But that's the thing, you need to say that. It needs to be specified. It needs to be verbally said. Okay, people learn in kinetic ways. They touch it, they hear it, they see it. Okay, you can't touch them. You can't tell them, oh, here, do it. But you can tell them and you can let them see it.
And we do post a sign that tells that people can read as they go into the polling location on how.
Right, but if they can't read it, because some people go in there without being able to read, the only thing they can read, if they'll take a cheat sheet with them, like I do. I take a cheat sheet because there are some people, I can't remember their names, and they will take a cheat sheet and match that up, but they're not taking a cheat sheet to show, oh, this is the way I need to fill in that circle. So, I mean, if we're talking about voter integrity and everybody's worried about, is everybody gonna be able to vote? We gotta send out these ballots and, you know, make sure everybody has access to it. Well, we need to have access at the polls.
Why is the onus on the poll workers to verbally show folks who know they may have difficulty understanding?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Why is the onus on the poll worker to show folks who know they may have difficulty understanding instead of on that person to bring a friend or
Yeah,
ask
but,
in advance, come by,
but that's
call?
because, well, why is it on them to get a ballot beforehand?
Because they want to exercise their right to vote.
Right, so they want to exercise their right to vote, but if they can't read well,
Then they need to find a way to get it done.
right, and help, getting them help at the polls, that way is not that big of a deal.
Have you worked the polls before?
No, but I've been there. I voted all my life, every election, pretty
So when
much.
you're working a poll and you've got thousands of people coming through,
I know,
and if you're saying most people don't have more than a fourth grade education, are we to hire 100 extra workers?
no, you only need, it's just like in a carnival or like Cedar Point, they rush all those people through the rides because one person, or they have someone on a speaker saying what they want to be heard. And if it takes that to make sure, please make sure you fill in the circle correctly. It's not that much to say. And then if somebody does have a question about that, you really have some, and they're like, oh, you know, I don't know how to do this. This is my first time voting.
We do
And
have
I'm by
people that do
you.
that.
That stand out in the hallway and
That are
say,
in the polling site, ready to help anybody with any questions.
right,
But the
but
onus
they
is
might
on the
not
voter.
realize that this is
The-
such an important question too.
The onus is on the voter to seek that help.
You know?
We're not here to babysit our voters. We assume that they are adult, responsible people, and if they need the help, they're gonna ask for it, and we are there with plenty of people to help.
Well, I don't see why there would be such a big hard thing to post one person outside and to remind them to make
How's
sure
that?
they fill in the whole.
How's that one person gonna determine who they need to talk to?
They don't need to determine anything, you just say it. You just say it. Everybody line up. When they're lining in, they're coming in. Please make sure you fill in the ovals so that your vote will count. Correct, fill in the ovals correctly, the vote, so your vote will count. People don't think about that. They don't. I've taught school for 35 years. We've filled in those dot things. They know how to do it, or they know that they are to do it. But a lot of those scantrons come back and kids have to retake tests and things because they didn't fill in the dots. And then by the time they're 18 years old, we hope they've got it, but not always will that happen. Or you get that person that hasn't even graduated from school. They don't know how to read, but they want to vote and exercise their rights. And that isn't it. That is just a little issue. People are talking about issues like people can't get to the polls, which kind of, Dave Ward sent me this video about how if you have a handicap, that there's ways that you can vote and that's taken care of. And it was kind of strange to me that the fact they showed a video of a guy who couldn't go to the poll, but he could walk to his neighborhood mailbox and put that vote in there. If you can walk that far, I'm thinking you could go to a poll and walk in and do your vote. I see, and that's the same argument.
I understand your concern, and I certainly think we can look into it. But we have to also be very cautious that we balance the appearance that we're telling a voter.
You're not gonna put the officials' names on there.
No, but we're telling a voter something about their ballot. No, people get very upset and very uptight. We have rules that tell our poll workers they must stay so many feet away from the scanner. And part of your concern, our scanner takes care of. when they put that ballot in and they voted for too many people for the same election, the scanner won't take it. It sends the ballot back out. And there, in English at least, it says you have voted for too many people in a particular election. We're very cautious because at one point we had our poll workers kind of rushed over when they heard the beeping, and other people said they're trying to tell them how to vote. And so we've had to have this delicate sort of balance of people who are naturally suspicious and say that if a poll worker talks to a voter, they're cheating. And so we sort of say instead, look at the screen, there's a problem with your ballot. I would say 99.9% of every voter goes up and hits that button that says, accept my ballot, even though it's bad. They won't admit they've made a mistake and take it back. And we then spoil it, keep it, but we spoil it, give them a brand new ballot. And a lot of times the poll worker may just glance at it and go, don't use an X because you mark through more than one oval, just darken the oval in.
But that right there, that's
So
my point.
My point is that we may catch it at that point. The other thing I know about human beings is that if we have TV or we have someone telling them darken in the ovals, don't go outside the oval, I don't know what percentage of people will never hear it.
But that's fine.
You know.
But what percentage are
You know.
going to hear it?
I don't know. And again, I couldn't tell you. I know that the only other thing I'll say is from the standpoint of the feedback we get is that when we went to the new equipment, the overwhelming majority of people who either called us at home or saw us on the street or saw us at a voting location or whatever, or to the staff here, said this is the greatest thing that ever happened.
I have not met one of those people.
Well, trust me.
I'm just in the wrong place.
You apparently are going to, or they just don't want to tell a citizen, they want to tell the people in charge, you did a good thing. So again, from our perspective, we were getting good reviews on our equipment.
How about when you were talking about getting rid of your things at the beginning here, you guys were talking about getting rid of your,
The voting booths.
the voting booths. Okay, so I came here to vote in 2020. I came
Right.
to here. I went to that little room and I sat down, okay? And when I sat down, I sat like this and I could see the next person's screen.
Yeah, we have tried to make improvements and so forth, but at the end of the day, you can't account for people who want to cheat.
No, I don't want to cheat.
No, I'm
I don't
just
want to
saying
look
you
at
can't
it. But what I'm
account
saying
for
is
it.
that's a privacy issue, not a cheating issue.
Well, but
That's
it's,
a privacy,
I
because as a
grant
voter,
you,
I
but I'm
should
just
have
telling you,
privacy.
we made improvements each year trying to make it much more
I know,
difficult.
but what I'm trying to
Because-
tell you, the privacy is an issue.
Yeah.
And in May, this last year, I went to my precinct out at Reno, and it was even more horrific because we stood up and the machines were on one of those little plastic tables, and I looked, and there was like virtually nothing. I could see 3 down. I mean, there was like 2 or 3 of them on the thing. I just like see over. I'm like, what is
Yeah,
this?
and again,
I chose to wait until people actually left from the area and put my vote in because I didn't feel like it was private. And I spoke to many people after that.
we did
And they
ask-
said that they had
Yeah.
problems with that.
But our poll
And
workers
here.
are trained to not let you stand there and stare. You're going to see something, but are you really going to be able to see anything?
It doesn't matter. It's the perception.
Well,
Because that's what you were telling me earlier. It's the perception.
and again, we will do our level best. one of the things we did is we went so that everything is back against a wall.
Mine wasn't against a wall, it was
Well-
against a window
Well,
at Reno.
right.
And that was the other thing,
Yeah.
somebody could have been looking in the window, because I turned out, I'm like,
Right.
oh my goodness, this is
And
the least
hopefully
private
other
voting I've ever
vulnerable
had.
people would have gone and had the sheriff arrest them.
Yeah, but that's okay, but that person could have just been walking to the playground. And
it
it's, I mean,
could have
it's,
been a Martian that came down. and
I'm not
looked
talking
in the
about
market.
Martians, I'm talking about
I'm just
people
saying
in their
there-
shoes.
There are realities and then there
Yeah.
are possibilities. And it's possible that someone could be looking through a window. Again, we are aware of that, and the poll workers are trained that we don't want anybody at those windows. And so part of their training, part of what they do is they pay attention. They pay attention to you that would stand there going, what is she standing and not moving? She's done voting.
I'm not done
Only-
voting, I didn't vote.
Well, my
I was
point is,
waiting.
my point is you should never have gone to a machine. You should have stayed put before they would allow you to go. And at least when we went to Reno, there was nobody standing behind voters waiting to get a machine.
Oh, no, there wasn't. But when I started to walk over, and I didn't actually stand behind my machine, I stood beside it. I walked over to the end of the table and I looked and I saw, wait a second, there's no division. And so I just kind of stood
Well,
there and I
dividers.
just kept my eyes down. And then this person left over here, and then I walked around and I voted. And I gave them their privacy by looking down and not looking around. That really
We
needs to be
appreciate
addressed.
it. And frankly, that'll be something for Karen on poll worker training. Because the way we design those, there's only one way you could enter and one way you could leave. That was to be the design on how you got into a table like this. You could
I
only
went in
one
the
way.
same way and came out the same way.
Well, you should have only been able to loop in this way. You could
No,
never have gone
I went
behind.
right in, and it was in between tables,
Yeah,
because it was like a table here and then a couple other
Right.
tables there, and I went
Yeah.
right here. I just stood there, and then I came over here, I did my voting, and I went back out the same way.
yeah.
And I did appreciate that when I did put my vote in, that person stepped away from the machine, because I've complained about that several times.
You're talking about the scanner. Yeah.
I had complained about that several times, because when we were putting them in upright years ago, when this first started, I'm like, why is this person standing right here when I'm putting my vote in?
Right, yeah, we've
And
done a
so
lot
doing it
of
upside down,
training.
but that didn't really help a lot, because, there's
Yeah.
things on both sides. But they stood away,
Right.
and if there's a problem. So I understand, I totally understand your point of view. I do appreciate it. But I think that other things have to be brought up,
Right.
or otherwise we don't see
We're
them
gonna have to
as an
move
issue.
on. to
You're
some other
fine,
things,
I'm
so I
sorry.
just-
I knew I had a lot of things to ask
Yeah.
you, and
Well,
I
I just wondered
appreciate
if you
you
had
letting me
anything
take your time. You did answer my questions.
Ma'am, did you have something you wanted to share with us?
She's here with the newspaper.
Well,
Mary Ann.
just that, you're the public, you get the comment. Okay, we have before us, and if I take it, these red check marks, that mean
You're
they're
good.
good to go.
Yes,
So that puts them over the 166.
it was mine, there was one that they, she
I know, I
does
had
a
it up
really
here.
nice
This was
signature
the-
for us, and then this must be her legit.
Yeah.
This was the one she was questioning, this is our record. But even without this, he's still.
You know, to say
Right.
about my.
Yeah, here's the-
Yes, yeah.
Yes, a lot of people don't know how to sign.
I guess that's from 43 years of first grade.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's people they don't teach
I'm in a
first.
hurry,
A lot of
get out
people
of
don't
my
teach
face.
Yes, you're
I
back
had to
again.
teach.
Yes.
Yeah, I already told you yes
Person
once.
to sign their 3 years
Leave
ago.
me alone.
Never wait for the rest of you.
No,
I know.
has not.
Well, again, one of the things, again, we get all the
Some,
time.
it depends on the teacher.
You know the
Depends on the
person,
teacher.
and you know them by
They always
bill,
choose.
and they write bill.
They,
Yes.
And luckily.
For
you have
us,
your
they give us
teacher that
William.
chooses.
Right.
Which is okay, as long as we.
And we try the ILL.
Four.
To make it work.
Say the last name.
We just know that happens and so forth.
That's sad.
All right,
Mhm.
so we're, otherwise, Good, you want
Yes.
us to present that one?
Yep, if you guys wanna vote on it.
Michelle, do that.
Shall we abstain?
Yeah, I think it would probably, somebody could caution you.
One of
Charlie,
us
you
make
wanna
a
go ahead
motion.
and move, and we'll have, Glenn second, because Kadeen's gonna abstain for this one.
Oh, okay, I understand what you're saying now. I may move that we accept the petition for Jet Lag LLC liquor option for wings.
Second.
Have a motion second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes. And the record will reflect that Kadeen abstained, so there won't be any,
Scully duck?
what?
What was the term? you used?
Skullduggery.
Skullduggery.
You never heard that?
I've not heard that term. I'm gonna go look that
Well,
up.
you better look that up.
Yes.
Maybe you've heard it, you just didn't remember it.
Yeah, I did,
Yeah, because
yeah.
that's a lot of words
I
that
like
you
it,
know and
I
don't.
like it.
Yeah,
These shenanigans.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for your
As always, thank you very much for clearing that
Come
up.
back anytime, Eddie.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
We have more petitions to.
We have lost actions, yeah. And
But,
we didn't have any correspondence, so we can start with the other.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
You guys
you.
have a good week.
Take care.
I said one thing.
Yeah, I just,
It's been so long, I didn't want to.
Don't have any.
She said,
my experience is that time and time again,
It works for them.
you have
So
some
like
like
Oval. They still don't cover it.
repetitive things.
What is that they're taking out my door and say, fill in the oval.
You're taking a page, and when she comes back around,
It just
it's
said,
the point
we
nobody
wanted
hears.
to have them fill in the oval, and they still don't do it.
Right.
And some people,
The person standing there saying, fill in the oval, is not gonna, is not gonna do the job.
and at fourth grade, I believe the way the ballot instruction's written, it is written for fourth grade.
She's talking about having somebody orally explain it.
Yeah. And again,
In case you
there are
can't.
gonna be people get irritated with, I
Actually,
can
maybe
read.
the onus is on us to babysit them.
The last thing I want's a poll getting punched in the nose. Because they insulted somebody, you know. Well, I'm just
So I
telling you.
think the old
in case you
Kroger's
can't
down in that shopping center, they're revamping that.
read. All right.
Okay, our first petition, so we'll go through our ones that have any
Initials, excellent.
It doesn't have issues.
This one does.
Yeah, we'll do the issue, we'll do the
The
dozens
problem,
first.
problem children.
This is for Paul Mason, for Warren Township trustee. He turned in 3 pages. On one of the pages, he didn't write in the number of signatures on the back. So he had 2 other pages, which each had 20 signatures. So that still left him with 40 signatures. However, there was one that we believed that somebody had signed for the other person.
How many signatures did he
He
need?
needs 25 valid,
Okay.
and this is number 19 and 20 there.
Oh, good grief.
So if you would throw out the whole page saying that someone signed from the other person, then he would not have enough valid signatures.
And he was notified,
Yes,
as was
It's
Mr.
saying-
Seller's client.
yeah, and that all
Okay,
was
He's not here to explain what happened.
right.
Those are clearly the same in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, all the way through the address.
Yeah, no, if we would just say that the one signature doesn't match, he would have 29 valid
But
signatures.
you can only do that if we have evidence that the person, the circulator didn't knowingly
Right, see the
allow
person.
Right,
a signature.
and I think it's incumbent
So if
upon
you
the
throw-
circulator to come in.
Right,
Right.
so if you throw out the whole page, of course, he doesn't have enough valid signatures.
Yeah. Here's the rest of it.
And the other one, without the number of signatures, is that one of those substantial compliance?
No.
No,
That's a
that's a kiss of
mandatory.
death.
Yeah.
If you remember, Mr. Butler withdrew his because of that.
Okay.
Because he didn't write on either of his 2 pages he
Right.
originally checked.
So, and that we had also checked with the secretary.
Right, the Secretary of State's office had told us that it has to have that number of signatures.
Okay, so this page is out.
Right, already, just
Entirely.
because of not having that
It doesn't
number.
have the number. And the other one, which should have been here, do we have to, let me ask you this, do we have to certify today?
We have to by the 16th.
So we don't have time.
Right, so unless you had a special meeting, you know, then you wouldn't.
And again, we
Did you
alerted
spell-
him
did you
and
speak to
offered
him?
him.
Yeah, I had talked to him.
With him
Yeah.
personally?
Yeah, because I had left a message and then he called me back.
But he should be here.
And then his wife called, I think it was Monday, and was asking if they've been certified, and said, no, nobody's getting certified till Wednesday. And all the petitions would be presented to you guys board.
So,
And we can eliminate just that one signature. Is that legal? Okay, that's what, only.
no, it eliminates the page because
Unless you have evidence that the circulator did not knowingly.
Okay.
you know,
But same situation.
which is what,
Right,
yeah,
what- which is what I
Mr.
did.
Sellers brought in the circulator to tell us.
I'll make a motion that we do not certify the petition for Paul Mason for Warren Township trustee.
Did I hear a second? Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passed. There you go.
Alright, so then we have this one, is similar, he did not write in
On any page.
the number, and then they were also, he actually dated and signed it the day of the deadline.
And the 4th, but started his signatures in July.
Yeah, and I had, I did see it before he, you know, as I was helping him at the counter, and I know he signed it here.
And the pages that we
So it was
give these candidates, I specifically, you must read both front and back before filling out your petition, because that's the first thing
I
on the
know.
back.
Well, again, it goes to the issue, you can personally tell people, and they're still gonna mark
Well, it's just
the
like,
oval
I said Leslie
incorrectly.
here, she double statements there. He said she taught school would taught those kids to fill in the oval, but they would still get them back. So what is it the person standing out there telling fill in the oval gonna do? If she does it,
Well, I'm just saying, we know that some folks don't listen as well as we'd hope they would. And maybe it's something that we could at least have a large oval with a dark spot in it or something, I don't know.
Maybe make up a sign of some.
Or if someone's asking for a ballot, just have the hander out say,
Well, that I
remember
think is
black
appropriate.
and
That I
then
think is
Yeah.
appropriate when they ask for a
Yeah.
ballot, because at that point, you know that person's going to be filling out.
filling in the oval.
And you're already having a communication with them as you're handing them
Yeah.
a blank.
Because the last thing you want is the screen person trying to grab a pen and fill in the oval
Yeah,
On the
so
screen.
on
yeah.
the screen.
at that moment, then part of the instruction is, please make sure you
Yeah.
fill in every oval correctly and just one.
Right,
Something very simple.
and that's something we could talk about at training.
And that could be training, so
And I
that's,
also don't mind when people check in, because they all have to, letting them know, you can request a paper ballot if you wish.
I'll make a motion that we do not certify the petition of Charles F. Seaman for Barlow Township trustee.
any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
The sad part about it, is
He's
he's
been a trustee.
He's been a trustee for
I know,
years.
for years, forever.
Yeah,
Yes.
Some of the ones that seem like they've been trustee before they come in, they're really nervous, like, just read the paper, calm down, and just read. We can't tell you, but read.
yeah. Again, we have that delicate balance of how much we
What
can
we can
do
say and
and what we can't say.
Right,
Because again, part of it's the appearance, Because would we also say the same thing the same way to
Every
every
single person.
person? And if you don't, then someone will claim, well, wait a minute, you didn't tell me that. So instead we give them thorough instructions. I mean, that is as thorough as, well, thorough.
Our next one, this is for Terry Lincoln for Marietta City School Board. She needs, for Marietta City School Board is required 75 signatures. All the other school districts are 25. But we found 60 valid signatures for hers. And there were some of the pages that you can see when they're dated was after some of the signatures on the pages were
So same.
collected.
You say Marietta City School Board requires 75.
Yes, because they have a higher population than other school districts, that's what it's based on.
So that 60 valid takes into account
The dates,
the date.
yes.
Because, I mean, if I were just purely speculating based on human behavior, it's August 3rd, the date signed. It looks like it got filed on the 4th.
Right.
So it's almost like you wonder, were they filling that out the night before the 4th when they were coming in?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's just the one,
There was, I think, there was a couple pages that I think were okay with the date, but then some of them,
there's just one page that's okay with the date.
okay, that may be.
Yeah,
The other
because,
two are.
because when we were putting it in, you had to put in the dates, so they were
Right, the
validating
earliest date.
Yeah,
with,
Right.
yeah.
so only this.
So again, it's a failure to reach
It's
the
okay.
75
The others-
level.
Predate.
Gosh, folks. Boy, this seems like a higher number of failure petitions.
Just probably a little bit, yeah.
It seemed this time
And we did have a lot of people turn in this time, there was quite a bit of interest.
Well, that part's good.
Yeah, so that's,
Again, I just.
so that might account for why, because we've had maybe a few more petitions turned in than normal, so.
I'll make a motion, we do not accept the petition for Terry Lincoln for a member of the Board of Education of Marietta City Schools.
Have a motion second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. There you go.
And, these ones here, I believe you could take, for substantial
Substantial
compliance.
compliance.
This one was for Dale Lauer for Liberty Township trustee. And on his date that he signed it, I mean, it's, the way you have to put it in is dated this day, whatever the day is, then the month. But I think he put them backwards. So it should have been, instead of the 7th day of September, it should have been the,
Military.
yeah, it would have been the 7th month, the 9th day. So it would have been July 9th instead of September 7th. He did that on both. And his signatures, I believe, were collected, or starting in July, so. Or at least some of them are in July.
Every now and again, you will run into people that,
Yeah, that do that. We have people that, on their voter registrations or different things. And I mean, you know, this works it differently than most people normally write the date. They write the month first and, you know, if you're just, I'm normally dating something, I put the month, then the day, but after I'd ask for the day, then the month. The way the form's written. So it's different than the way most people normally
Yeah, do the numbers.
date things, yeah.
And again, it would be consistent if he's saying 7/9 that he had picked up his petition, were they picked up here?
Yeah, he picked up his petitions here.
So that once again would be consistent with him picking it up back in the first part of July.
Right.
And the signatures are later, so.
Right, it looks like he just got started later, yeah.
I agree, he tried to just get it backwards like,
Obviously could not have been September.
Right, since September is being here.
I'll make a motion that we accept the petition of Dale Lauer for a township trustee of Liberty Township based on, he substantially did the correct petition.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Shall I put those over here for you?
Yeah, that might be good to keep us separate. So we don't get
Wait, you got stacked, sorry.
Well, I'm trying to be helpful.
Now, these two, let me see if I have some of those. These three actually did not write in the county. It asks, the petition asks that whether you're running for the full term, and then it says and you put in the name of the county that you live in. And they did not write in the county. There was three that did that, if you want to do them together.
None of them are running for a county office.
No, there's no county line
village.
offices. I believe they're all village
This
candidates,
one's
actually.
one for Matamoros.
And I believe the other two are Lowell.
Village Council of Lowell. Are these folks?
Maybe they don't know what county they live in.
Yeah, I don't know if they just forgot to write it, or maybe they're not sure, I don't know, but.
It could be that they were just thinking that somehow it was associated with a county office, I don't know, as opposed to
And the
a
signers,
village
yeah,
office.
the signers do write in what county they live in, the people who are signing their petition.
Which is better than, remember we had that one petition where they kept writing in the word village?
Yes.
And he wrote city council, there's no city council, it's village council.
Right.
He got it right. And this one got it right.
Well,
Sometimes that's a council person. That's kind of just, yeah, so.
well, maybe to him it's a city.
Maybe.
Well, I'm just saying,
Oh.
my mother grew up in Hazelhurst, Pennsylvania, population 300. To her, a city didn't have to be too much bigger, shall we say.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept petition of Brenda J. Lee, member of council for Lowell Village, David Haynes, member of council for Lowell Village, and Joseph Franklin Wells, member of council for New Matamoros.
Second.
Any, been a motion and a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes.
All right, and these next two did not write in the election date. This one put the year, but not the day. And then, yeah, and then on this one, he didn't put the day or the year on it, but I don't think I either.
I haven't picked this one up in April.
He's been on the board
Mhm.
forever.
Got it done early. And again, we have in the past considered that substantial compliance.
Right. Since that position is on the ballot.
On that ballot
For this
for the
election.
general
Right,
election.
for this November election.
I was trying to help you. When somebody uses a petition, they could fill the declaration out while they're here, couldn't they?
They can. Now, we're not able to tell them if they have done it properly or not.
But at least if they do it here, they'll get the correct election date.
So, and the paper we provide them has the election date at the top.
And we even, I have it, when I'm telling them, I fill it all out and stamp it, copy it, and I turn it and face it toward them. The election date is, and I tell them, filing deadline is.
Right.
And I just, I go down through it and then hand it to them. So,
You know, I didn't know you did that, and I was gonna say, well, maybe they just gonna ask them what the date was and didn't remember to do it,
now
so.
some have come back in afterwards, and like, what's that election date again?
Every once in a while, somebody will call and ask, when it is, so, yeah.
I'll make a motion, we accept the petitions of Scott R. Lang, member of Board of Education, Wolf Creek, and Bob Allen, member of the Board of Education, Warren Local School, meeting substantial compliance.
And we have motion and second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Back to the Board of Education, it'll be a petition.
I see we have a few more.
I see a lot of.
Well, I have them broken down into,
Yeah.
whether they're township or Board of
Oh, okay,
Education or
all right. So,
that kind of.
all right, so we're reaching a point now of.
Getting lunch?
These ones, they did not fill in the nominating petition portion. On the top portion, statement of candidacy.
Yeah,
Was
that's all
filled in
complete.
properly, yeah, but the nominating or petition portion was not completed. So those, you can take by substantial compliance.
Joanne, have you seen this one? This,
Yeah, I was reading it myself right now.
These all have the same problem.
Yeah, every single one of them does there.
I just like to see who can follow instructions.
So we have that number, and just thought that other paragraph.
Yeah,
Wonder who they think fills that one in. I said these.
I'm not sure what they.
I mean, it does begin with we the undersigned,
Right.
but
And it tells you something.
If they get confused by this box here and think that these two parts go together, even though they don't.
Cause they'll ask us too, what, they think that center one is like
Yeah,
for the
this is-
circulator. And I was like, no, but there are 3 parts to that front. And I explained that middle section, and I said, well, do I need to fill this in? I said, I can't tell you that. But you don't have to fill this in, so that's kind of like a hint. You don't have, this one's not required, but there are 3 sections to the front.
Yeah.
So we're talking about this.
Yeah, sometimes they think that that's a circulator.
Yeah, what this section actually does is these people, you have to fill in all 5, can nominate, like if someone can complete their term, like they pass away or become physically unable, to complete their term or mentally unable to complete their term, these people can appoint a replacement. So instead of it going back to the rest of the trustees or the rest of the school board members that are still on there, then these people would choose a replacement.
Okay.
Most people don't fill it out at all, or they don't understand it. So occasionally we get some people, that we've told them before what it was and they'll fill it in.
And they have to, again, have other folks fill it in.
But they can,
Or they can do it
they can write it in
themselves.
for the people, on there.
Because those people don't have to sign.
Yeah, it doesn't ask for their signature.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. He's actually doing or she is doing the designation.
Yeah,
And if you fill one out, you have to fill out all 5.
right, or, yeah. So you can't just have one person, it has to be a group of 5. And then you fill it out on each page. It gets circulated.
And again, once again, I guess that informs the signer of the petition,
Okay.
what your plans are, shall we say,
Yeah,
in case they would disapprove maybe of.
right, maybe then they wouldn't want to sign it because of,
Right. Makes sense.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the following petitions. Stephanie Lang, member of Board of Education for Fry. Wayne Howard Eisner, Township Trustee for Adam Township. Jeffrey David Anthony, Township Trustee of Adams Township. Philip Smitley, Township Trustee of Newport. Randy E. Adams II, Township Trustee of Decatur. Craig Allen Howard, Township Trustee of Ludlow.
Or how?
How?
What did I say?
Howard.
Oh, I'm sorry. Eddie Dean Place, Junior, Township Trustee, Decatur Township. Douglas Parks, Township Trustee, Watertown. Gary Gong, Junior, Township Trustee, Warren Township. Daryl Joseph Huck, Township Trustee, Fairfield. Mark Eichard, Township Trustee, Decatur. Joseph Carpenter, Township Trustee, Salem. Adam Wolf, Member of Council, New Matamoros. Meeting substantial qualification.
Need to vote on?
Did you second?
Second.
I have a motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
The rest of these are for village offices, and they met the signature requirements and filled in all the, correct.
They actually did what
They filled in their petition correctly. Yep, it was perfect.
Actually, what I hate to say is it's a rather small file.
No, that's just a village.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, that's
just the village. Oh, Lord.
These are our village people.
God bless. Oh, mercy.
Yeah.
I was beginning to get disheartened there for a second.
Yeah. We want you to be too.
Kadeen was pointing out.
Yeah. Because we're getting our other good ones.
Oh.
Oh, that's a good plan.
These are both good.
All right, make a motion that we accept the following petitions. James Alsberger, Member of Council, New Matamoros. John Smith, a Member of Council, New Matamoros. Tammy Annell, Member of Council, New Matamoros. Rita Batten, Board of Public Affairs, New Matamoros. Roland Hopkins, Member of Council of Beverly Village. Terry Dunn, Member of Council, New Matamoros. Shane Belleville, Member of Council, New Matamoros. There's New Matamoros people now to fill out applications.
Had the word education.
There's a lot of people running for them too.
Was there a motion and a second?
Yes.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
These ones are for the Ohio Valley Educational Service Center, which the most populous county for that district is in Guernsey County. So these people turn them in at Guernsey County. But they send us the pages that our signatures collected in Washington County, so we can check them. So they will vote on them too, but I always like for us to vote on them that we certify or, look at the signatures and certify
Right.
them.
Well, this is for that educational service.
And they all did meet the requirements, or the signature requirement and completed them.
Do they have, is it by county? Is there a certain number per county?
There's a district of it, I think we're in the southern district. And
Okay.
somebody had put on there, so it includes, I think, a couple of counties.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the petition for Karen Kubota, member of Governing Board of Educational Service. Patrick Eugene Lang, member of Governing Board of Education Services. And Joanne Ingram, member of Governing Board of Educational Service Center.
Second.
A motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes.
This is for township trustees. And there's for fiscal officer for Decatur Township because they're completing an unexpired term. But all those were properly completed and met the signature requirements.
Here's a 25.
Some of the people did they needed 25 valid signatures and that's all they had was 25 valid signatures, but
Well,
that's still
pretty
makes.
trying.
Yeah.
That's rough on us. That's rough on us because we're nervous for them.
Sure.
As we're checking the signatures.
Why would you
yes.
do that? I mean, it's like,
There's like 3, I think.
What was it?
How many that we had like that were?
25, I saw at least 2 or 3.
Yeah, there was at least that many.
Yeah.
It's,
And some of them had maybe 28, valid ones or something like
I know
29.
these people are all valid, that's why.
And then somebody else had, I saw 48 in there, so they went the extra mile.
Yeah.
we like that.
Well, yeah,
And
again, it does.
it's more work for us to check it because we have to check every signature. But that makes us feel more comfortable because we know they're gonna make it.
And that's the other thing too, if the people haven't voted, that puts them back in the records.
It puts them back on.
Yeah, if they haven't voted for a while, it'll
Yeah.
update them to current
Extends them,
status. Yeah,
Which again helps a little bit with work
Yeah.
right,
on the back end if you have to
Mhm.
send out notices.
right. So it's less notices to send out.
This is always the time we have a bunch of these, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, again, it's one of the facets, one of the interesting things, I think Mr. Huggins used to say frequently, this is our most elaborate election because we're running so many different elections. It's not like, a presidential is a huge outcome, or turnout. But here, every community, every township has their own individual election. And so we're trying to do
Right,
that.
it's considered an off, people call them off-year elections, but for us, it's not
A
really.
lot of work.
Right.
Again, trying to figure out how many ballots per township, what
Yeah,
the
the next
turnout's
meeting will
going to
be-
be.
Doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have turnout issues.
Forget it.
and if people might request paper ballots, we might need to order more.
Yeah,
Okay. I'll
So
make-
you need to tell us when you're gonna take a picture so we can be on our read. Can't just.
Yeah,
All right, I make a motion that we accept the following petitions. Bill Yoho II, Township Fiscal Officer of Decatur Township. Tracy Joseph, Township Fiscal Officer, Decatur Township. Caitlin Ball, Township Trustee, Muskingum Township. Bryce Pratt, Township Trustee, Muskingum Township. Mike Giffen, Township Trustee, Fairfield. Jeffrey Haas, Township Trustee, Aurelius. James Brower, Township Trustee Newport. Jeremy Gribble, Township Trustee Fairfield. Jay Hupp, Township Trustee Muskingum Township. Robert Gers, Township Trustee of Salem.
Oh, yes, no, no longer with us.
Gary Goen, Jr., Township Trustee of Warren. Did we have that once
Yeah,
before?
we just, thanks.
Put that one on. We had a Gary Gahn that we just voted on, and here's another. So is that one of them?
Now, Joe Vickers, Township Trustee of Warren Township. Carl Petrie, Township Trustee of Aurelius. Dennis Lang, Township Trustee of Salem. Gerald McGregor, Township Trustee of Lawrence. Keith Sargent, Township Trustee of Wesley. Alan Kaufman, Township Trustee of Warren Township. Alan Hockenberry, Township Trustee of Newport. Jeff Lauer, Township Trustee of Fearing. Lloyd Miller, Township Trustee of Fearing. Tyler Hearn, Township Trustee Wesley. Jeffrey Lawrence, Township Trustee Wesley. Jed Butler, Township Trustee of Independence. Michael Fleeman, Township Trustee of Liberty. David Love, Township Trustee of Wesley. Richard Early, Township Trustee of Grandview. Kenneth Mays, Township Trustee of Dunham. Roger Welch, Township Trustee of Guthrie. Tim Matthews, Township Trustee of Dunham. Paul Metz, Township Trustee of Lawrence. Carolyn Dempsey, Township Trustee of Muskingum. David Roberts, Township Trustee of Wesley. Richard Sievers, Township Trustee of Newport. Rodney Sievers, Township Trustee of Newport. Richard Best, Township Trustee of Barlow. Stephen Boger, Township Trustee of Marietta. Alan Hill, Township Trustee of Palmer. Kenneth Pugh, Township Trustee of Palmer. Todd Davis, Township Trustee of Grandview.
Because the
Got
front
the
sheet
wrong
was,
front sheet.
so that's the reason that he has enough signatures. I just looked at that. So that the wrong front sheet was printed off for him.
What did you find out about?
Yeah, that Gary's was printed off accidentally for his.
Oh, okay,
So that's the reason, but he has enough signatures.
okay, we're good. I make a motion. I think I said that when I started.
10 minutes ago.
Just enjoyed reading, okay. Have a motion, second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, passes.
Okay, and these ones are all for.
Charlie, you need a drink or anything?
Snack to Cecilia.
These are all Board of Education, and they met the signature requirements and were properly completed.
Well, wow. I was just noticing we had so many of these that had large numbers, they're kind of thick. And then
Yeah, there
there's
was-
one that had 75, that needed 75.
Yeah, for.
Yeah, that was another.
Yeah, Board of Education.
So, yeah, a couple of folks were. got them, so.
How much that he's doing at the 75 because,
Of the population of the school district.
oh, population of school district.
Mm-hmm.
So I think by the, by the time, once the census data comes in, by the time that office is again, we'll need to check and see if that's changed. So if it's went down, they might only need 25 signatures for the next time.
But if warm starts going up, we might have to do warm.
No, that's true, it's true.
Yeah,
I mean,
so it's about trying to get a hold of her and find out. We just found out yesterday from Michelle, she had called and told Karen that the 911 works there as of Thursday last week. But we don't know what happened.
She got fired. That's all I know.
Well, that we figured that was a possibility, or she left, I mean, we didn't know, so.
Hmm.
Yep.
Well, I keep waiting for the day where it's gonna be a total of 2 pieces of paper.
It's getting close.
Okay, make a motion that we accept the petitions for Leonard Wiggins, member of the Board of Education, Belpre. Molly Hott, member of Board of Education, Belpre. Frederick Meredith, member of Education of Belpre. Joanna Zomanki, I don't know.
Or Zolmanek.
What is it?
Zalmanek.
Zalmanek, okay, member of the Board of Education, Fort Fry. Lloyd Booth, Jr., member of Board of Education, Fort Fry. Daniel Van Way, member of Board of Education, Frontier. Jennifer Ramsey, member of Board of Education, Frontier. Myron Joan Reese, member of Board of Education at Frontier. Jeffrey Carl Knowlton, member of Board of Education, Frontier. Rudolph Lehman, member of Board of Education, Marietta City Schools. Seth Miller, member of Board of Education, Marietta City. Cody Parman, member of Board of Education, Marietta City Schools. Eric Reed, member of Board of Education, Marietta City Schools. Ethan Vessels, member of Board of Education, Marietta City Schools. Sam Tootin, member of Board of Education, Marietta City Schools.
You're up.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
All right, and we have 2 write-in candidates.
Oh, my.
One for Belpre City Council, First Ward. It's a Reed Byers, is his name. And for Township Trustee for Independence Township, Lance Vinegar. And we could still get more write-ins. That deadline is August 23rd by 4 p.m.
Do we note those? Do we have to accept those?
Yeah, you have to vote on
Vote on
to
them.
accept those.
I guess you've at least secured that their address is.
Yeah, they're properly completed and we looked them, they're registered.
They're
voters
registered
with
in the
correct
appropriate
address.
place, so, right.
So these folks do not need petitions?
Yeah, they don't have to collect signatures if they're a write-in candidate.
But they still have to pay the filing fee.
Yeah, they pay the same filing fee as anybody that did a petition for that office.
Yeah. But there'll just be a write-in spot for them.
Yeah, there'll just be a line and it'll
Line.
say write-in below it,
Right.
so.
What would be the basic reason why they're going to write in as a petition? They do too late and they can still write in?
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean that they, missed they waited
Deadline.
until after the deadline maybe to see how many other people were running for that office potentially might be a reason they did it, or maybe they didn't want to go around and collect signatures, or, it's hard to tell what they're.
I'll make a motion that we accept the declaration of intent to be a write-in candidate for Lance Vinegar for Township Trustee of
Independence.
Independence. Okay, I was looking for it. And Reed Byers as the Belpre City Council Ward 1.
Second.
And motion and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Passes. Now, tell me, how does our machine do a write-in?
It will, for a proper write-in vote, the voter has to darken the oval next to the name, if it's a paper ballot, and then they write in the name of the candidate.
Right.
On the touch screens, it will have like a line there for write-in, and you hit the button next to it like you would one of the candidates. And it brings up a pad where you type in the name of
Oh, you actually type it in?
Yeah,
Okay.
so it gives you like a little keypad that you type in.
I was thinking that's what happened, because I was thinking, don't tell me our machine stores those names and then pops them up.
Yeah.
No,
Because that'd be a
It's
slick
not a
way to
write-in.
get around having to get signatures.
Yeah.
May as well be a write-in, because once you tap the other thing, your name
You're already
pops
there.
up
So,
anyway.
but voters do have to, we keep a list at the polling location, and a voter has to ask if there are any write-ins, and then we provide them that
List,
information.
yeah.
Am I correct, they do not have to spell their name correctly?
As long as it's,
Where we
it
can
has to be,
understand what they
it
want?
has to be close, I mean, that we can
Yeah.
easily identify who it is.
if they miss a letter in the last name, we can tell.
Yeah.
Or the first name.
So the poll worker can tell them who to write in candidates
No, they have to
are?
hand them a slip of paper that has the name.
Okay, but so they have something with the write-in candidates' names?
Right, the poll workers have a,
The voter doesn't have to come up with it on their own?
no,
They can't remember.
if they forget, they can be like, oh, who are they? And the poll worker provides them that slip of paper. So, and we were doing this past year, we did extra slips, because we've done before, where we didn't send as many, so that people could just hand them back in to the poll worker. But with COVID, we gave them extra slips, so they could just throw them away, or take them home, or whatever they want to do with them, so that people aren't touching the same things over and over. Next, we have several issues that will be on the ballot. These first two, we have received back approval from the Secretary of State for the ballot language. That's Greenview Township and Watertown Township. For Greenview Township, their levy is an additional levy, and it's for maintaining and operating cemeteries. And it's for 1 mil for a continuing period of time. And the one for Watertown Township is an additional levy also, and it is for constructing, for the purpose to construct, reconstruct, resurface, and repair streets and roads. It's for 4 mils and it's for 5 years. If you want to do those ones first and then wait on the other ones, since those have came back, it's up to you, or we can do them all at one.
Has anyone seen the language other than us?
We've sent it to the Secretary of State, but it hasn't came back yet. But the
Prosecutor
entity,
doesn't look anymore, or?
they don't really look at the language because they draw up the levies for the townships.
I
and we
was gonna
kinda-
say, I
yeah.
thought they had their hand on it, I guess.
Yeah, usually, typically it's Allison,
Right.
writes up the entity's
So
resolutions.
she's gonna get the language correct, is
Yeah.
what I'm getting at.
And so we take off of there
Right.
the information to put into the language.
So can we approve them even pending the Secretary of State's approval?
Yeah, and usually the only thing they might do is if I missed a comma somewhere, they'll tell me that.
So we
or
could
if I
do
need to-
those subject to approval, and
Yeah.
that would take care of it,
It's
so.
usually only a minor difference
Because you're
if there
gonna,
is any.
you're gonna be ready for ballot language next meeting, right?
Right,
Yeah. So why don't we separate
I
them?
didn't know if I should wait for Lynn to come back, that's why I was waiting.
We could go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the issue of proposed tax levy addition to Grandview Township for maintaining and operating cemeteries, and also the proposed levy additional for Watertown Township for the construct and reconstruction, resurface, and repair of streets and roads.
I'll second.
And we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
So, Washington County.
yeah, we have the 911 levy, that's for the whole county.
That's a renewing.
Yeah, it's
That's
a
a
renewal.
Yeah. Dunham is
Dunham is an additional.
here's a replacement.
Yeah, Newport Township was a replacement, and I believe Wesley Township
Wesley
was a
is,
replacement.
yeah,
And those are fire levies.
right.
Oh, and then those are liquor options. if you
I was
wanna
gonna
wait,
say,
actually, if you
is
wanna
this
wait
a
on those.
liquor?
Yeah, we can wait on them.
I guess we'll wait on our two.
Well, actually, we'll have Well, you voted on.
We already voted on one, right?
Yeah, on the one.
So we have one out of the way. You figure all these are gonna be one-sided.
And these you just sent me,
I don't,
Tim, the,
actually, it probably will be,
okay.
or at least two, I mean, it won't go to.
Why
Subject
not?
to.
That's
not a federal
Approval.
I make a motion the following levies be accepted, waiting on the approval of the Secretary of State's office. Proposed levy replacement for Newport Township for protection, ambulance, and emergency medical services. Proposed levy for Wesley Township for the protection, ambulance, and emergency medical services. Proposed levy additional for Dunham Township for providing and maintaining ambulance service, emergency medical service for both. And for the proposed levy renewal for Washington County for the operation of 9/11 system.
Have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passed.
Alright, and the next two are the liquor options. One is for Don Ankrum, owner of Anco Foods LLC. It's for a restaurant called Antonio's. And he did meet the signature requirement. He needed 166 and he had 168.
Where's this gonna be?
I was gonna say,
It's
you
gonna
know
be
where,
near the one that Abe Sellers was here for. Yeah, it's gonna be in the same kind of area there.
The 4A.
If you're familiar
Yeah,
with
it's about
Belfry, it's,
4A.
it's where the old, used to be a grocery store there.
Yeah.
Saving a lot.
Save a lot. Next to People's Bank.
Yeah.
And then the other one here is for Marathon Food Center, that's in Little Hawking. The address is 15 Arrowhead Road. It's for their, for, I believe, Sunday sales is what they're
looking for.
trying for there, yeah.
Okay, we'll make a motion that we accept the petition for liquor sales for Don Ankrum Antonio's in Belfry. And yeah, I'll find it in a minute.
It was Marathon.
Oh, Marathon Food Center, liquor option, for them on Sundays.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passed.
And that is all the petitions or issues that we have.
A moment or so.
So, and it is, you know, the same deadline for issues was the same as the regular petitions for, was August 4th. So we won't have any more of those. The only thing else we may have would be the write-ins.
And they have to be certified, or they had to be certified by the 16th.
Right, now, of course, the write-ins don't, but everything else had to be.
When do we have to have the write-in certified?
I'd have to check the date. I think it's before, or it's after the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, which is good because I think I guess the next thing on the agenda is, and Mandy brought it up briefly to me, we have those old plastic chairs in the back. Remember when we had lots of folks coming in, Charlie, we set up those plastic chairs? The pads on the bottom to keep them from scratching have deteriorated to the point that they're actually now gummy, sticky, and they leave a residue on the floor. So the staff would like to secure some space by getting rid of them.
Is there a requirement we need to do on getting rid of them?
I'd have to send out an email to see if any other county offices would want them. You know, I mean, I'll let them know, you know, that they're sticky. I mean, they're still in decent shape. I mean, they're just a hard plastic. I mean, you could use them maybe outside if someone had a need to sit up chairs outside, they might be okay. But if you sit them on any kind of hard surface, I mean, it will leave a sticky residue on the floor. Because we set one up back here and there's sticky stuff left on the floor a little bit in one spot.
Have you looked at, can you, is it possible to clean it off?
You might be able to remove it.
Do we need these chairs or something?
We don't need them any longer. We had them back when we were at the courthouse a long time ago. So they haven't been used since we've moved up here at all. So,
Do we need a motion to go ahead and dispose of them?
Well, I think, yeah, motion to have the staff see to the,
Okay, I'll make a motion that the staff, you know, go through the process of getting rid of the plastic chairs.
Good second.
I have a second. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
The chairs can go. Preventive maintenance, you're giving us ahead. They're doing that now, right?
yeah, he's here now doing it. It's Darren from RBM. That's here doing it now.
Right.
So, and I believe he thought that he might not get everything done this week. So maybe the Mark that's been here before from RBM will be coming next week to finish it.
Are we finding trouble?
The only thing he found was that some of the freedom votes for one location didn't get turned off properly, or closed out properly, so we know which place it was, so we can check with the poll workers for next time, so they'll educate them. Because that drains the battery, which then he has to go in and reset the date. So that's, I mean, he can do that, but it's not good on the battery to continuously do that kind of thing. And he did mention to me.
What location?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I mean, a big one where we had.
It was one that we used in May, but I don't remember which, like I said, which one it was.
The guy that ever showed up on time?
Maybe, I don't. But he did say that maybe next year they're gonna change the batteries out in those, it's just something to do with all everybody they.
And that's an expense to us
I think it's included in the preventive maintenance costs that we pay.
this time?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, could you make sure, because that might be a line item to bring up to the county commissioners?
Right, if we need extra money.
If we're told that it's gonna be an item that's sort of outside the purview of our
We
contract
normally-
services
Right.
line and so forth. But hopefully, you're right, it's included, that'd be handy. You folks are closing on the 16th, and that doesn't now present any kind of problems, because
No.
we're not gonna be active on the 16th doing any other certifying.
Right. So I don't know if you guys needed to vote on that. It's the county's already,
The state
it's listed
requires
as,
it.
yeah, the state's
Yeah, so-
requiring, so.
It's a holiday.
I just wanted
In
to make sure.
August, I don't know, personally, my staff reminded me that the greatest drought of holidays is between President's Day and Memorial Day. So crafty people would take Juneteenth and kind of find a middle date in that drought.
To get a holiday.
My staff were always wangling for some Australian day off, claiming that we once represented somebody from Australia.
Oh, well,
Honor their whatever day.
you
Buell and I didn't have that concern. All right, now, tell us all about the EAC audit of HAVA and CARES money that apparently had some kind of spurious catch attached to it.
well, that's just, Ohio was chosen by the EAC as a state to audit. So the state had made us, I had this on there, I think, last time too. But we just had to get prepared. We haven't been notified that Washington County is getting audited, but we had to prepare. So we had all of our invoices,
This just showed where we spent the money.
Right, that showed what the money was used for, that it was appropriate
Right.
items that were purchased,
Right.
and then they're still being used. We had to do an inventory, seeing if we're still using the items, and that we're making sure we're using them for the purposes set forth in our agreement
Right.
that we signed.
Oh, before we get away from that matter, what equipment were we supposed to be looking for a modem in?
I believe the voting equipment,
Preventative maintenance being done on?
yeah, the same ones as,
Have them look, so we can say we looked.
Yeah,
so,
so is he here?
yeah, he's actually back there now, so if anyone wants to talk.
I think we want to make sure the staff for sure goes back and we want you looking for modems.
So we can report that we looked.
Looked.
We can do that.
Yeah.
He'll be here all week.
Yeah.
Did you have that training, by the way, with Jose?
Yes, we had that on July 27th and 28th, and it was a really good training. So we had Sheila that's helped us here in the office before coming and helped some. Of course, we were taking petitions then, so Melissa and Emily had to go out a little bit to help her. Because she's not as familiar, or she was not as familiar with that. But it went really well. We all learned some things that we, even if it was just like a little shortcut kind of thing we can do, to make things easier for
And
us.
who is he with again?
Triad,
It's Triad.
yeah, and that's our voter registration vendor.
Yeah.
He's worked there for a long time, so.
Very popular guy.
He is,
Very.
yeah,
Sings the anthem.
he's a very good singer.
Yeah.
Yes. And he's a military veteran.
What was it, Jose?
Yeah, okay.
Jose?
All right, seasonal employees change hourly wage.
Karen had told me you guys had voted on that before, but I couldn't find it written in the minutes.
No, we didn't vote on it. We
I know we
voted to
voted on
look
it.
into it.
Okay,
Yeah,
but so I didn't know if that's because they're getting paid currently the $8.50 an hour. And, we had the office staff coming in like that Sheila that helped us, they were getting paid $9 an hour. So I didn't know if you guys had wanted to change that. I mean, there was the stipend, that the seasonal delivery, that they're more than delivering people get paid. And, the office staff, the people who help with that, don't get paid that because they don't go out and physically deliver
right.
any of the equipment.
So at the end of the day, the office staff is now, have been bumped up.
Right, the office staff is at the $9
Right.
an hour.
And the seasonal guys are bumped up if we,
Because they get a stipend.
because we get that stipend in. Which one does sort of lock us into giving some kind of a stipend if we're otherwise paying out at $8 an hour.
Right, the $8.50.
Or $8.50. I mean, I'm happy with the number as is, but certainly if the other members have a different opinion.
I'm not inclined to change it. We've traditionally given a stipend
And,
based on the merit and the extra work, physical and otherwise.
And the last,
We should keep that tradition.
several elections, like maybe 4 elections, at least it's been $400
Right.
per person.
Which is a tidy sum. And again, part of it is to ensure that we keep them and so forth. And I think they've been good to us, and I think we've been good to them. That's why I'm sort of happy.
And it's an acknowledgement
Well, I
that office
understand
work is
that-
different from the physical labor part of it.
Yeah.
Right.
But what are we paying them when they come in here for the early voting? When we had the staff, they're coming here doing what the staff does, but yet we're paying them less money.
They're still being paid the $8.50 for that too.
So I don't agree with that. I mean, they're doing the same thing as the staff, and we're paying them 50 cents less.
Are they setting up the machines and that kind of stuff?
I'm sorry.
Are they setting up machines and that sort of thing, or?
And doing things for the early voting, like, making sure you go where you go and so
I know,
forth.
but are they also doing any of the physical labor of getting the machines out, setting them up,
Yeah,
setting
that's true.
tables up?
Well, once they helped us set up, I believe, when to start early voting last year in November. But they, once the machines were set up, we didn't tear them down each night.
Right.
So they
So I think it
set up
makes
the one
sense.
time and then when we tore it down the one time.
I think it makes sense if they're here doing, I don't wanna just call it office work, but the same type of work that anybody else could be doing in the voting area, then they should be paid what the office, the temporary staff is paid, the $9.
So that might be, I might have to check with the auditor's office for paying them, different amounts for different jobs.
It is a different job, I mean, delivering is
So, yeah.
entirely different.
I mean, is it
from
different than-
stations
But I don't know
here.
how, I guess they would logistically, the auditor's office would,
I understand.
yeah. So, and we don't have the delivery people doing the office type work that often. We did in November because we needed extra help for the large volume. So this past May, we just did it all ourselves. We didn't have any of the delivery staff come in for that, for the voting.
Well, maybe you should follow up with that with the auditor and see.
Yeah. I
So
can
if the
check with
situation
them.
changes where they're back here doing that again, that we know what we can do.
Yeah, and it might be, I just might have to give them a letter from us saying, during this time period, we're gonna be paying them $9 an hour, and during this time period, it'll be $8.50 an hour.
Because if you pulled Sheila or Anita to the back room to supervise that, they'd be getting paid $9 an hour.
Right. So,
Yeah. Let's check into it, because it's, in one way, it's not a significant number, it's 50 cents
right,
an hour, so it's not a huge number. So why don't we find out about that?
yeah, I can
To
check.
me, it's about the work being done, not who's doing it.
Right,
Yeah, because at the end of the day, again, in our defense, for lack of a better way of putting it, we're getting all of this work done with 4 people that are on the permanent rolls for the county. And when you look at Belmont, Athens, and some of the other ones, they're getting it done hiring 7 and 8, 9.
7 and 8 people.
right,
And so forth, so
They're just not as
We
good
are-
at it as.
we are guarding our pennies, as it were.
We're more efficient.
So, yeah. And again, part of that efficiency, which you hate to say is, we're using technology to be more efficient. Because that's how 4 people can do all of this work, where we have this built in and you don't have to make every entry that you're doing. The system understands, get this and everything, other things pop up, and it speeds up the process. Oh, well, I'll quit. Poll worker pay,
You want to table that till next time since Karen's been working on
she gave me her
Okay.
sheet here, if
Okay.
you want to go over it, or if you want to wait.
it? That's fine.
oh, we
I
can
didn't
go
know.
over it.
What she had told me here is for November, she was wanting, or well, actually, I guess this was for November last year, she did base these numbers off of. So if we did the same numbers again, this is what it would cost. So we had 219 poll workers. If we raised our pay for our 13 voting location managers to $145, we have 21 meters, to $130 each. That would leave us with 185 that would be just normal plain poll workers. And if we made them $125 each. And this is based on if we paid $20 for training, for each training. So it could be 40 if they do the online and in person. Then that would bring us to a total for the election of $36,500.
Do we, just out of curiosity, have the number before that?
That's my question.
Currently in our budget, I think for poll workers, we have left for the year 29,000.
When was the last time we increased the pay for poll workers?
We have never increased it since I've worked here.
I think it was when I was a poll worker, there was an increase, and that's been several years ago.
I
Was that
started in
before I was on board? Because I don't
2007.
remember raising it since I've been on the board.
Probably, honest to goodness.
Do you remember?
No, so that's 06,
Yeah.
Okay,
so it's probably time.
and where did she get her proposed numbers?
She did not tell me that. I'm not sure. I know she's been looking at, like I mentioned before, the annual expense report of the board, that those are available online. I know she's been looking at those, and that does list every county, what they pay their poll workers.
I think what she
So I
gave
think
us
she's
something
been referencing
last
that.
time, didn't she show comparisons
She
of
had a
other
sheet
counties?
of counties that were our size.
Right,
And that was where I think she.
Yeah, that's where she got the numbers.
Yeah.
So why don't we do this? We have it, we could wait until she comes, because I'd like to have the answer also of the increase. In other words, how much more is this gonna cost us, for lack of a better
Yeah,
word?
no, our normal, like just, regular poll workers, now we pay, the base is 101.25, I think, or 101.50
All right,
for the
so-
whole day. And then if they do the trainings, then we currently pay $10 a piece for training now. So if they do both those, that's 20, so then they'd be getting paid
We're doubling.
$121.
We're doubling the training.
We're
Right,
doubling
that
the
would be great,
training,
doubling it.
and we're going from 102, call it, if you round up to 125.
So then if they do both trainings, they'd get $165.
Well, not per hour,
No, total for the day.
or for the day.
Yeah, that's total for the day.
Um,
Yeah, we don't pay them.
Well-
We pay it based on a 14-hour day.
I'm looking here. Is it, I guess these are
This
just
is-
so
Yeah,
again.
this is 125 times the,
Oh, here's that list.
that she had last time.
Oh, I see. So what is the breakdown per hour?
Right
Based on
now,
14
I think it's $7.25 an hour.
So
Times
we
the
went to
14
125. And what's
as the
that
base,
from?
yeah, so 125 divided by 14 would be like 892 an hour, 893.
Are you including that, education when they take it online, everything in that?
That's in the they get 20 for doing it online and 20 for in person.
Oh, no, but are
If
you
do the
including that when you divide it by 14?
No, no,
Okay,
I didn't include that.
okay, good, because I don't think that should be brought in there.
Yeah,
And you said, you got to 14 and 125, is that what you did?
that would be, 125 divided by 14. Comes to, if you round up, it's 893 an hour.
$8.93 an hour.
Yeah,
What's the minimum wage in Ohio now?
I believe it's 880.
What is the number of polling workers?
But we can use,
Private.
that would be like a church, someplace that's not public money,
Okay.
or run with public money, taxpayer money. But we can pay not based on the state minimum wage, we can use the federal minimum wage, which is $7.25 an hour, which is what we're currently doing. Because that hasn't changed yet. Unless you're a government contractor, which these people would not be.
Well, I think you're right, because we just might as well table this till next month.
Well, I'd like to have that other number,
Yeah, right,
and
I
then if
agree.
we had specific questions on Caroline, because maybe she talked to somebody or something,
Maybe.
had some
She might have talked to one of the other counties.
counties,
Yeah,
be worthwhile hearing about it. And I think we still have time. To me, one of the most important facets is paying for training, if that will encourage folks to do the training.
yeah,
Do most people do the training?
yeah. Well, and to work, to be, for us to use them, they have to do the in-person training at least within, I think it's actually like a 3-year period, you've had to have had an in-person training is what the base minimum is, but sometimes you guys require, more than that. Especially like for a larger election, we've done that, but.
Well, and we're often new equipment, so I think we're always gonna be really sensitive to making
Right,
sure
the people have at least.
they know how to do it, because we had a battery issue simply because one group
Right, they didn't shut the machines.
couldn't shut the
down
machines
properly.
down properly.
Yeah,
And you would think that we've gone over that that's not something we skipped over,
right,
since everybody else got it. And so again, it just points up, as Glenn's been saying, more training is better than less training.
Could
Because
you make us a copy, each a copy of,
Yeah.
of the chart?
we can make copies of it. so
I
you
want to
can
make
take
sure
them.
that we're not simply looking at or comparing ourselves to counties that are similar in size. We ought to pay attention as well. Some of these counties are not in the same financial position
Right,
that we are. So, to compare Scioto to Washington County, our resources are not the same.
well, or
Yeah.
Belmont,
Yeah.
which, they're printing money.
Right, so that's something else that is
right, to
not
be considered.
represented in this chart that we ought to pay attention to. So, if we could get a copy of that,
Yeah.
that'd be great. Let's see that.
Okay, so we're gonna hold for that. RBM ballot coding and layout days are August 26th, 27th.
So that's when they'll be coming in to help
Again,
us
if we'd
with
like to
that.
come and watch, we could, or whatever, but that's
Be
when
allowed
they're
to. That's when
gonna
they'll
show.
be here.
And that's when we'll get the final, that's what the ballot will be looking like for each of the races.
Right, and so we'll have that before our September 8th meeting, so that you guys can approve it,
Right,
and then we can send off our, to get the ballots printed.
right. Okay. And then the LNA testing is October 4,
Yeah, 4th through the 7th.
and that'll be on all the equipment.
Yes,
And
that'll
we'll
be on.
take into account the fact that ballots are now available within the equipment to be pulled up.
We'll have it on, the election gets loaded to each of the freedom votes, and we test that to make sure that on the OVO, on the scanner, reads that ballot properly.
Right,
We'll test
and the
paper with
ballot
the
printer
work
prints
paper.
what you wanna
Right, that's
vote
printed.
for properly.
Yeah.
And so that'll actually be live potential selections. It's not, Mickey Mouse and Donald
No,
Duck.
no, these are the actual candidates.
The actual candidates. So we'll be able to run through again to, once again, show that,
Yep, because it accounts for, it looks for each, where it's at on the ballot,
right,
and, make sure that it reads the proper person for the proper line.
We get a copy of these.
I think Dean asked us. Did you?
I
Yeah.
did,
yeah, we're gonna get a printout. Okay. And we have our form. Are we making any headway?
We've made some there. Let's see. It's the last one we sent out. Emily's been used some vacation time and
I'll be
used some comp time and some,
I'll be using some
Vacation.
vacation time for the fair, since my child will be.
Oh, come on now.
I have to wash chickens.
wash,
Yes, wash chickens.
Wash chickens?
Yes. He's taking market chickens, so you have to wash the chicken.
why
You
isn't
actually
he
have to-
washing them?
They're
his chickens.
These are live?
Yeah, these are live.
You don't have a
Real
laundromat for chickens?
No, unfortunately.
Maybe you could drive down to like, what is it, the Farson Street Car Wash, where they have the commercial.
Oh,
You
yeah.
could use the dog wash
Well, I need
area.
the flipper.
I was gonna see it now, feathers flying everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, because since they're white, you have to put like a bluing in their water to get them
Oh,
white.
I'm glad. That's the.
Oh, yeah, we need
Yeah,
that.
It's cheating.
Well, like, that's not using powder, so that's the cheating, you can't use powder.
Oh, that's cheating.
Yeah,
You have to use what?
like a bluing in your water to get them white.
But you can't use powder, so how are they gonna check you on that?
Oh, they can tell.
Organic?
So,
Yeah.
So I guess if you fluff them and you see
Yeah, you
powder
see
flying
powder
around.
flying.
Oh, okay, okay, I'm just asking.
this lady here today, what is their, has she mentioned what her activity or what her outcomes are? Why is she doing this?
She's a member of the Mid Ohio Valley Citizens Action Coalition.
She's concerned about
We're concerned
election
citizens.
integrity,
Yes.
that's all.
There's been a lot of fraud.
Not in Ohio.
So, no. Not with elections anyway.
Again, well, it's always your definition of what's a lot.
I'm not saying there isn't any fraud elsewhere, but we have seen it in Ohio.
You know, I mean, so often it's the possibilities, well, you had me vote in front of a window, so it's, you know, a person could be standing there. Well, like, you know, I suppose I shouldn't have used the Martian, but you know, anything could happen,
Yeah.
you know. If you told me, you know, and again, I'm really curious about that, because I could have sworn that when we were at Reno, you could only get into that voting booth, if you will, by going on one table, and there were at least, you know, our dividers.
Mhm.
And so maybe you could see a screen. I mean, I can see Kadim's phone. I can't read a thing on there. Couldn't tell you what it says for love nor money, but I can see it. I mean, I can read Karen Pulaski up there, but the smaller it gets, the harder it gets. And there's nothing on a voting machine that's gonna be any bigger than probably that small line, because your nose is tucked up 18 inches from it.
Well, to be sure, 2 years ago when we started using one of the newer machines,
Yeah.
and there were a lot of complaints about it.
Oh, there
And
were.
It was
There
very, very valid, very valid.
Valid, extremely.
And it's hard work, y'all
That's
doing
why
that.
we changed to having them, you know, face the back.
Face the back
room
to
and
avoid that.
whatnot, so it's not that we don't pay attention to it.
And then root down first to
Sounds
check
like we do.
with the, you know, for Reno to make sure the guys are just setting it up
Sure.
right, so.
Yeah,
We're gonna make sure that
yeah.
happens each time.
We'll continue, you know, it's like anything else. It's possible people can cheat. You know, and as hard
It's
as
about
we
the
try.
privacy, it's not about cheating, you can't cheat, but you don't wanna be able to see your neighbors.
Well, I consider that, I guess, cheating on your neighbor by looking
but
at
you know,
how they
If we were doing a
voted.
test.
But she said in the statement that when she leaned back, well, most people aren't leaning back like that.
In a class I took,
Right.
used to, I noticed they were looking at my
Mhm.
paper. And so I hate to tell you how perverse I was in high school. But we had this one major test, and so I filled it out quickly with a pencil and marked all the answers, and I could see the young lady was taking it and then sharing it with her friend. They got all done, they turned them in, I then erased all the wrong answers, put in all the correct ones.
Good for you.
The two of them got in a fist fight that was monumental.
Oh, no.
Because the one girl was accused of, you know, and of course, you know, was, the best she could do is she fouled up or something. Little did I know that I would cause such discord, but they were wailing on one another that night.
Well, we learned out a ton of lessons.
Well, I don't know, hopefully it taught me a lesson to be a better person.
Or you did anything wrong.
Is September 8 okay for folks?
That would be the second Tuesday of the month from September, or second Wednesday, not Tuesday.
I was gonna say, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I'm thinking of election day.
I've got it in my calendar.
Okay.
I'm good.
Yeah.
So we're good, we've added it, Board of Elections. All right, is there any other business we haven't conducted or anything anyone remembered?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, I'm sorry to hear Janelle left, but Ms. Betty seems like she's attentive and she took pictures.
And she's been working there for a while, so.
She what?
Do we need to
Yeah,
stop
we need to.
recording?
I suppose it's,